Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities such as new companies and potential business partners and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GRIDnet for your free $5 to invest and start investing and networking on public.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grid Live Pre-Race. Joe Samaniego along with Kobe Lambs from the podium finish, Joshua Birch, and Matthew Bro. We got a lot of racing to discuss. And, of course, before we get into the racing action, a big thank you to our Patreon subscribers, calling the show Mark and Robin, for keeping us on the air. You too can invest in the Grid Network through Patreon or buy me a coffee, buy a cup of coffee for your favorite on-air personality. Links in the video description. And, Joshua, we got to start off with MotoGP qualifying, the only series that has done qualifying and completed it so far, because Formula 1 is the United States. NASCAR is underway, and the MotoGP World Championship may be decided in Malaysia, as Pecco Bagnaia will start ahead of Fabio Quartararo and Aleix Espargaro. But here's the big thing. All three riders went down at some point. Aleix during the closing stages of Q2, Pecco twice went Q2, and then free practice 3 earlier in that day forced him to advance from Q1 to Q2. And then Quartararo, free practice 4, fractured that left middle finger. Do you sense that the riders are pushing and at times they're over the limits this weekend?
Definitely so. On Friday, we had an interrupted day because of sort of wet weather. It sort of interrupted the running as well for free practice 2, so they never got any long runs in. We had that problem then in free practice 3 where everybody had to push harder in order to get some times in. We saw a lot of riders fall there as well, Bagnaia included as well, having 2 falls today as well. Jack Miller having a fall in qualifying 1 as well. I mean, it's just a bad weekend all round for Ducati. It's a badder weekend, worse weekend is a better word for it, for Fabio Quartararo as well, with him having now broken his left middle finger, as you said, Joe. And ironic that it's the middle finger as well, because I think that's what half the riders want to do and show to what happened with Franco Morbidelli in free practice 2 and 3 as well. Morbidelli just getting in the way of everybody on the racing line, held up Marquez, held up Bagnaia, held up his own teammate as well, and that stopped them, and that forced Bagnaia to go through qualifying 1, forced him to have to make more mistakes, use up more tyres, meant he couldn't have a good run in Q2. Ducati second-guessing themselves all the time as well. It was an absolute mess, but it's perfect for us because it's given us a perfect front row, but they are definitely pushing over the limit, and with more heavier rain predicted tomorrow for the race, which Megan doesn't know about, please nobody tell her, though she just won't get up in time, with heavy rain predicted as well, we are going to be in for an all-time classic, and I honestly see the championship going down to Valencia because I just can't see anybody getting it right tomorrow. So we're in, I hope, for a showdown in Spain.
Yeah, it appears likely we're going to be talking about the championship showdown in Spain, Valencia. That's going to be something else to see. And yes, you brought up Franco Morbidelli, long lap penalty he has to serve in the race. Overall, I think it looks like it's going to be a chaotic race. The rains, C. Pang is known for that. And a comment from the chat room, Dimas, one of our loyal viewers, watching from Indonesia. Thank you always, and especially with all your MotoGP F1 questions. And earlier today, when in Motorsports asking us about sports car racing, we always appreciate all our viewers, the questions, and sharing their opinions. Now, one of the big things, Joshua, one rider without issues and a starting second, Enea Bastianini, still mathematically has a shot at the championship. He really needs to go out there when the others have bad luck. The others are already starting to have bad luck, and we're not even in the race. He is behind Jorge Martin. Broke the track record. First 1 minute, 52nd lap. Martin, he is one of the fastest riders, probably the fastest rider. but he just can't put together a race and be on the podium just like the last race weekend. Behind Bastianini, Marc Marquez. Do you believe Bastianini is in a good position to win and close the gap to remain in the championship hunt in Spain after this race?
I think we said the same about Bagnaia early on in the season, that he was the outside shot for the title. Now, look, he's closed up and he's a 14 points in the lead and has a shot to win it tomorrow. I think we can't write anybody out in this crazy MotoGP season, that's for sure. But it's an incredibly hard job for Bastianini to get this gap closed up as well. He's going to need an absolute miracle to be even in contention for the championship. Yes, he needs to win tomorrow. He also then needs to win in Valencia in 2 weeks' time as well. The two circuits could not be more different. Malaysia, it's hot, it's sweaty, it's a difficult circuit to ride against as well, but it is fast and flowing. Valencia, it's the complete opposite. It's cold, it's narrow, it's tight corners as well, and you more freeze up as well and get stiff. Whereas here in Malaysia, you sort of get too hot and loosen up a bit too much. You get fatigue. So they're complete polar opposites. And I've never seen anybody be so good at two different circuits back to back. So I don't think Bastianini's quite there yet. So I think a win here would do him good. He'll need no points scored for Quartararo or for Bagnaia or Aleix Espargaro either, who starts higher up on the grid as well. So it's going to be a big, big thing for him to try and get back in this title fight. Personally, it's a two-way fight ever since Australia. It's going to be between either Pecco Bagnaia, who's leading the championship, or Fabio Quartararo. Aleix has tried his best this weekend, but multiple times he's gone down on the deck as well. It's just not good enough. So yeah, Bastianini has impressed me, but he won't be the champion this year.
Yeah, to have to where Pecco, everybody doesn't score points and he somehow goes to get the win, that's a tall task. And even then, if that happens, he's still going to have a really hard time in Valencia. Now, one rider may anticipate will be given a hard time to the front runners. Marc Marquez, an impressive effort. It looked like in Q1 he might be starting as far back as 21st, put together a really hot lap, knock out Jack Miller. Last race weekend, he got his 100th podium, looking to make it 101 now, and possibly another win because he is in that front row. He is starting third. The last race weekend, though, very different at Phillips Circuit. The tire field also packed. We had the closest top 7 finish in MotoGP history, but now we're in Sepang Circuit. Those two long straightaways. The Ducati riders have been talking about that, and these faster corners. Can Marc Marquez be a contender for the win this weekend?
I think Marc Marquez, to even consider himself as a possible winner tomorrow as well. Remember, he's been out of motorcycle racing for a long time. Yes, he's done a couple of Grand Prix now, but this is the one they all train for. If you can survive Malaysia, you can survive the entire season. And if Marc is at that level of fitness, then brilliant. I think we'll see a good race, but he will be absolutely praying that it rains tomorrow. That is it. If it rains, Marc Marquez is going to be on form throughout the entire day. But he's got to have it wet. He can't have it dry. If it's dry, he'll fall back by lap 5 as well. And by lap 7, he'll be completely worn out. So I think we're going to see a wet race and we'll see a Marquez up front. And I'm just surprised you said about Jorge Martin as well, having such a great qualifying lap time as well. He looks great in all conditions as well. He was quick in the wet, he was quick in the dry, he was quick in the mixed conditions. Martin is not a write-off as well. That pole had teeth to it as well. So whatever way we're going to have it, penultimate race of the season, 2 races to go, championship still wide open in many respects. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. And honestly, wake up early, stay up late, wherever you are in the world, watch it. It's going to be a classic, and it will sort of set up nicely for a grandstand finish in Valencia in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, I think it's going to set up for a great Valencia Grand Prix, and then this race, especially if we get the rain, you know there's a bunch of names we didn't talk about. Miguel Oliveira, Brad Binder, bunch of riders out there that could try and make a huge difference. A couple comments in the chat room from Adam Lemmer's 80% chance of rain in Malaysia. And then he believes Pecco will get it done in Malaysia. So one person thinking it's going to happen at Malaysia will definitely be following it throughout the race weekend. I encourage everyone to be sure, link in the video description to Joshua's watch along where they'll be covering the race. Now, of course, that's not the only race going on, but that is one of the few has yet to be determined. United States Grand Prix, the Formula One World Championship is already decided, but the constructors is still up for grabs.
Yeah, and yesterday both Ferrari drivers took the top spot in each free practice session. Carlos Sainz in FP1 and Charles Leclerc in FP2, but both have grid penalties this week. And Mercedes is the third fastest, not close to the Red Bull. But however, Red Bull could win the constructors' championship if they outscore Ferrari by 19 points. However, the budget cap drama continues to draw criticism from many inside the paddock as Red Bull went over the limit, and it looks like there will be zero consequences for them. Josh, is the FIA mishandling this entire situation?
Yeah, it's pretty much once again FIA having just a complete wide open rule book as well, having rules written down and then teams coming through and just saying, okay, we're going to break them, but you can't actually give us a penalty for it because otherwise we'll just walk away and you need us more than we need you. It's Formula One's in a very strange position where I've heard a lot of rumours that Red Bull is not going to happen. And I've just been told as well that the press conference will not have Mattia Binotto in it as well as he's feeling unwell. This is the press conference we're waiting to take part in about 10 minutes time where we're going to hear from Christian Horner as well, along with Zach Brown. As me and you, Kobe, discussed on Wednesday, Zach Brown wrote a letter to the FAA about this cost cap, saying that there needs to be a big penalty, and so much of the sport want a penalty for Red Bull, whether it's impact on this year's cost cap or something for 2023 as a breakdown for them as well. That is something they need to happen. They cannot be allowed to get away with this because it just makes a mockery of cost cap and a mockery of the rules in Formula One. So I really hope Red Bull don't get away. I've been hearing two numbers, 4.8 million and 1.2 million. That's how much either they've overspent or haven't. I've been hearing two different numbers. We've got no idea how much they overspent. We only know they have. And the FIA are now offering deals with Red Bull in order to get out of jail free card. It's a disgrace. It is all a disgrace. And I really hope this all gets tidied up accordingly and in a fair manner as well, because I'm looking forward to the press conference, which I'll be having on my FP3 stream as well. I'm recording it during the show. It's coming up shortly. And then we'll be hearing it in the FP3 show because I'm interested to see what Christian's going to say. It's the first time we're going to hear from him since all this cost cap drama.
It's going to be really interesting to hear. And I have to agree, the FIA, they're just making this into a mess. If we're going to have this much discussion about should there be a penalty, should there not be a penalty, but we have the salary cap, what's stopping another team from saying, oh, we're going to just minorly overspend a couple $1,000,000? We're not talking about pennies being overspent, millions of dollars. That's insane how much that could do for a race team. And we're still talking about should there not be a penalty, should there be a penalty. It really seems all the teams. When I saw Gunther Steiner commenting on this, that indicates every team is watching this. And I think it's going to really set a precedence. And the FIA, they need to make it pretty much clear, straightforward. You break the rule, there's consequences. There's no grace period. There's no grace area where, oh, you barely spend this much, we're going to let it go. They have to step in. They have to assess a penalty. Because I think this is really just going to get to where you're going to have fans upset. You're going to have teams just feeling like the inconsistency is not there. And we talked about another series where they're consistently inconsistent. Does the FIA really want to go down that road? I think the big answer is no. The FIA, this is the pinnacle of motorsports. They really need to get on it, get this deal with, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens with this press conference.
Yeah. Like, why do we have rules if we're not going to apply them? It doesn't make any sense at all. Why it seems like Red Bull is going to get as Josh said, a get out of jail free card here. And my idea for punishing Red Bull, how about next season you start them -50 in the constructors championship? Two races behind. I think that would be a fair penalty for Red Bull overspending. And in the future, if another team overspends and they get penalized, people are gonna be wondering how come Red Bull didn't get penalized for this, and then we'll be talking about inconsistency and a whole bunch of things that we shouldn't even be talking about. We shouldn't even be talking about this cap situation right now on the show. We should be talking about the race in itself. But yet again, another controversy with F1, FIA, and a whole bunch of drama. And I believe we have a comment in the chat room below from Dima saying, "Do you know Logan Sargent was in the seat in Williams in FP1 yesterday, U.S. Grand Prix?" Oh, yeah, it was really nice seeing an American driver back in a free practice session. And Logan Sargent is a serious contender to get that seat at Williams. I'm sure a lot of American fans are going to be very excited to see if we'll have an American full time in F1. It would be really a wonderful thing for motorsports in the United States, because it would be, I don't want to say unprecedented, but something that's extremely hard to do. Logan Sargent would join an elite club if he becomes a F1 driver. And this weekend, over 440,000 people are expected to attend the F1 race in Austin, Texas. This is the second F1 race weekend in America following the Miami Grand Prix, and next year a third race with the addition of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. We saw some decent action at Miami at times, but it was challenging to overtake, considering it's a street course. COTA, a purpose-built track, and they're celebrating an entire decade of F1 racing this year. Would you consider COTA a fan favorite, considering the increasing number of people attending this event?
I would say it's definitely becoming a fan favorite. And then this is probably one of the tracks in the United States that's going to be more accessible for as many fans. We've been seeing about the ticket prices for Las Vegas. That's going to go pretty much up, and it's going to be very limited. Getting to Miami during that race time, that's going to be a challenge. Here, Circus of America, they've been doing this for 10 years. They know how to put together a big event. Even before the big boom Formula One is experiencing, they always seem to have good attractions to the race weekend with some big concerts, events for the fans in attendance, and to have over 440,000, I think that really shows that this facility is doing a great job and making the fans excited. And then the racing itself, overall, is pretty solid racing that we're seeing at Circus in America. And I think Circus in America is probably one of the best venues, in my opinion, in the entire world. They host Formula One, they've hosted for IndyCar, NASCAR Cup Series there. Even in the past, we had Australian supercars there on a shorter circuit. This venue could really host a bunch of races. It's really exciting to see all the hard work and money spent on this venue, really drawing the fans in and just getting the attention it deserves. What an effort. Yes, I think COTA is definitely going to become a fan favorite in the long run.
I absolutely agree with you. And the one thing I love about this circuit as well is that, as you were saying, the amount of sports it's held, it's almost like it's become second to Indianapolis as well. I mean, as an overall world motorsport circuit, I would put it second behind Indy. That goes, yeah, Watkins Glen, Road America, well, all that. It is such a fantastic circuit. It's a challenging circuit. It's got some of the best corners throughout the entire world sort of put in with it as well. I mean, the first sector, it's Maggots and Beckett's from Silverstone. We've got the turns 8 at Turkey in the opposite direction. Turkey goes left 4 times. Here it goes right 4 times. And it's such a hard, abrasive one on the driver's necks as well. The muscles feel it. Right here feels it as well. Just believe your arms as well. Last 2 corners here, tight, twisty as well. The last corner now called the Andretti. I mean, that's just insane to think as well. And a rise uphill towards turn 1, literally going uphill for the start race. It's fantastic. And I love this track, and I think they've done it so right over the years as well. And you're right, it is the best place to go for an American Grand Prix. I always liked Indy, but the road course was never quite right for Formula One. I think it's in a good place now for IndyCar, now that they've added a couple of chicanes. But yeah, thinking about it, Las Vegas, as you said, ticket prices and street course on a night time as well. Yeah, that's glamour. It's not really going to be a lot of excitement racing, judging by what we've seen on the track. Miami was a bore fest. I hope it improves next year, but it's just another Caesar's Palace around a car park. It doesn't make any sense. And COTA is the one race of the year, which I actually really look forward to and really like. It's a great little track. I love it.
Yeah, and COTA certainly has a great atmosphere, and COTA is special because it's one of the few racing facilities in the world that have hosted almost all of the major racing series. You have the NASCAR Cup Series, Formula One, Indy cars race there, MotoGP, even the supercars had a race there. W Series, IMSA, the World Endurance Championship, GT World Challenge America. COTA has really hosted all of those major racing series, and it's certainly a world-class facility that a lot of people enjoy going to and looking at the scenes yesterday during free practice 1, free practice 2. I was like, wow, for a Friday, that is a massive crowd. And typically you wouldn't expect to see something like that, but as we all know, Formula One is booming in America, and it looks like it's only going to keep going up from here. And the addition of Las Vegas next year, I think that's going to be one crazy event. Don't know how the racing is going to go yet on the Las Vegas Strip, but Formula One, they're certainly strapping their boots down, and they're here to stay in America for a long time to come. And later today we have free practice 3 and qualifying, but one notable change is no rotating race director for the remainder of the 2022 season. Nils Vittich is the sole race director for the rest of the year. A report was published by the FIA after the Japanese Grand Prix responded to the incident involving Pierre Gasly and the tractor on tracking those treacherous rainy conditions. Eduardo Freitas was the race director at the Japanese Grand Prix. Did the FIA essentially fire Eduardo Freitas from Formula One race director after the scary incident in Japan? And what are your overall thoughts on the officiating this year compared to the Michael Masi era?
I really like Eduardo Freitas, first off, as a race director. He's done amazing work in Endurance Championship as well, runs Le Mans quite a lot as well. So he's an amazing race director, hands down. This year, however, it does seem to be interesting that all the controversial things in the championship has come from his races. Monaco, the long start procedure, the red flag, him as well. Japan was him as well. It seems to be like he didn't want the job anyway. He came in to debutize for it as well, but he didn't want this job. He was quoted saying last year or something when he was shadowing Michael Masi in Bahrain, and he sat with him during the weekend, and he said, "I don't know how he does it. It's more complicated than running Le Mans." And think about it, Le Mans. You've got 60 cars in the Endurance Championship as well. You've got 60 cars. It costs 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours as well. And Eduardo Freitas finds that easier than a Grand Prix weekend of Formula One. I mean, we can see why. So I think Niels Vittich as well, the race director, who for the remainder of the weekend, he's proven to me this year he's been consistent. I thought it was amazing that when Schumacher crashed in Saudi Arabia, he didn't stay in race control. He got out there, went on the track, made sure first of all that Mick was okay, and then went on to work with the track as well and organise himself and get everything ready. So that he's a hands-on race director. He was race director was on Silverstone as well, and he handled the Zhou crash brilliantly. So now it's a big vote of confidence. I'd like to see him as the permanent race director, but I've got a feeling that they just want to give Eduardo Freitas a break because he has been more double barreling this year than Niels Vittich has as well. So I think it's just a little bit of a break thing. Overall, what do I think of the stewarding and the officialing? It's been terrible still. So that's not the fault of the race director, because, as I said, Neil Vittich has been great. Eduardo Freitas has been getting up to speed with it, but the stewarding has been terrible still because of the FIA stewards still not having that consistency. We need a permanent driver steward who isn't biased, like we see Sarlo as well. Who's the race director this weekend? I can't tell you because I've got no documents with me as well. Actually, yes, I can. Who is the director this weekend if I look at my notes? In the sporting regulations. No, I can't tell you. So that's something I don't know for once. But yeah, we need somebody in there who's not going to be a dictator, who's not going to be favouring Ferrari or Red Bull or like Liuzzi and Sarlo with Ferrari. We need someone like Vettel. He's retiring. Bring him in. Get him in. I think Vettel would be amazing as a race director and as a steward as well because it's failing. It's failing. The FIA is having more and more failures this year, and I've got this terrible feeling as well that, as I said, something is going to happen where the FIA might not have the control it wants over Formula One anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel one of the big things with the steward system, it is outdated. It is inconsistent. We're at the level where Formula One has always been the pinnacle of motorsports. You can't have these calls where it's up in the air, there's inconsistency, leaves the drivers, the teams wondering what's going on. That's something where if you're the pinnacle of motorsports, you should have some of the best officiating there. Yeah, no officiating in any series is perfect, but try to be near perfect. It's a serious job. There's a lot on the line. I have to agree with you, John. I feel like this year has been sloppy, not just with the officiating. Some of the stewards, we don't know if how much of the preparation the marshal or the communication the marshals are getting. After what we saw in Monza, where the tractor came out and the cars were still going by, what happened in Suzuka, Japan. It really just seems like there's a lot of communication errors going on in Formula One. And overall, I just feel like F1, you got this big boom. Look into making it better for 2023, or else fans will start getting tired of it. like I said, no series is perfect. Even a stick and ball sports, those umpires, referees, they make bad calls as well. But we're the pinnacle of motorsports. The officiating should be top notch. Let's get to that level, and it's outdated. Do we really need three different stewards in
Mm.
each different race when we could just have, like you suggested, Sebastian Vettel, two others, or even if it's like two permanent and one rotated, so that way there is a extra voice. Maybe that could work, but let's get it to where the drivers know, okay, if I do this, it's not going to be a steward to question whether it should work or not. It's if I do this, the steward's going to knock me for it. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to push out of the way because it ruins the racing too.
Now, just before I let you continue on with NASCAR, I just want to say the press conference is about to start. I've got my headphones on as well to listen to it. So any breaking news that happens while we're still on air, because it's due to end when we end. So I will bring you any updates after the NASCAR segment.
Thank you, Josh. We appreciate that. And getting back to the question, it's really surprising to me see Eduardo Freitas have all of these struggles because, as Josh mentioned, he does a great job with the World Endurance Championship. Eduardo Freitas is actually one of my favorite race directors from many racing series across the world. Listen to his soothing voice on the scanner and how effectively he runs the 24 Hours of Le Mans, all those FIA World Endurance Championship events. He's really done a great job with that, but for some reason, he seemed to have some struggles in Formula One. Don't know why, but maybe the sports car racing is where he's gonna make his bread and butter. Maybe Formula One might be a little too much for him, but we'll see what happens with that moving forward. But as you guys have echoed, still a lot of inconsistency, and it seems like we're talking more about officiating in the FIA more than we are the actual stories that are happening on the racetrack, and that is super unfortunate. And you brought up a good example too, Joe, about all of the different about all of the different officiating errors we've seen in other sports as well. Like in the NFL, it's like, what is a catch? The officials still don't know what a catch is. Or nowadays, it's like with roughing the passer, you barely touch somebody, and that's a 15-yard penalty, which doesn't make any sense. Or in basketball, what is a foul? That's another controversy within itself, kind of like we're seeing with all these inconsistent calls in motorsports. And I believe we're gonna bring Josh back in to do his pick a we're gonna do his pick a winner soon for Formula One. Oh yeah, you're here. Gotcha. Yeah, for Formula One, MotoGP, and NASCAR. So Josh, if you can give us those, we'll send you on your way.
Pick a winner for Formula One. I've got a feeling this is going to be a Charles Leclerc weekend. Ferrari have seemed to be incredibly fast as well throughout this weekend. I mean, yes, he topped on a test tyre, but Sainz topped FP1 when everyone was still pushing, so that's going to be good to see. In MotoGP, I'm going to go with, if it's dry, Marc Marquez. Sorry, if it's wet, it's Marc Marquez. If it's dry, it's going to be Jorge Martin. And if it's NASCAR as well, open all the way through. I've got no idea who's going to take a win at the moment in NASCAR, so I'll have to put that out on Twitter later on in the weekend as well when we get round to it, when they're at Miami. And actually, just want before you bring Matthew in, I did see Matthew put in, who do you think wins in the ratings battle, NASCAR at Miami or F1 at COTA? I think it's going to be F1 at COTA, just like he did when he was at Miami.
That's going to be really interesting to see what happens. And Matthew is here, of course, for NASCAR Cup Series coverage. And we'll let Joshua go as he's going to cover what's going on with F1 and that press conference. And Kobe Matthew, Homestead, Miami, has been on the NASCAR Cup Series calendar pretty much since 1999 and has always hosted just one race a year. Never two, always one race. And traditionally, it has been the season finale for most of his tenure. 23 races at this track, but this Sunday, we'll only have 6 past winners here. Denny Hamlin, who has 3 wins, Kyle Busch with 2 wins, Harvick, Truex, Logano, and Byron, each with 1 win each. And Byron is the one driver that has won here, and it wasn't a playoff race. For Hamlin and Byron, the 2 most recent winners here, which stands out as more likely to be finishing ahead, Hamlin or Byron?
I think that's a very good question. If you guys can hear me, I've been having some technical issues over on my end in Rome where Mr. Richie Evans is in qualifying. And Denny Hamlin qualified back and 14th, but I'm still going to be on the Denny Hamlin train here because if you look at the average finish in the past 3 races here at Homestead, you see that Denny Hamlin has finished first and he has finished twice in the top 5, but his worst finish is 11th here. Unfortunately for William Byron, he's won, but he's also finished 39th here. So you never know what you're going to see here. And then also with Denny Hamlin, too, winning here 3 times already in his career, and versus Byron's 1. It's just hard to really bet against Denny Hamlin. And then I'm gonna pull up some statistics. This is the confusing thing. So when you look in the playoffs, the 2 best average finishers, I should say, have been the 11 of Denny Hamlin and the 24 of William Byron. Just when you look at the qualifying results, I mean, if you look at William Byron, okay, with his qualifying, he has qualified his past couple qualifications besides today, which was first, 3rd, 2nd, and 9th in the last round. But he's finished 13th, 16th, and 12th. With Denny Hamlin, has qualified 31st, 24th, and 3rd. And then today he's qualified 14th. Has finished 5th, 13th, and 5th. So it kind of shows that qualifying isn't really as big as a deal for these playoff contenders, specifically these 2. So that's why I'm going to say I think Denny Hamlin has a huge chance to win today. He's going to be one of my 4 pick winners on my Instagram page. Same with William Byron. But I don't think they're going to win the race, but I think they're both going to have great races. So I'm going to stick with Denny Hamlin for this one.
Yeah, certainly, Matthew. History definitely favors Denny Hamlin when you come to Homestead, Miami Speedway. William Byron had a really great lap in qualifying, went in a pole. Hendrick Motorsports looked like they rolled off quick off the truck, obviously. But I think this weekend we might see William Byron rise to the occasion and get the job done. But honestly, it's really a toss up between Hamlin and Byron right now. I think either one of those drivers can go out, get the job done, and find themselves in victory lane at the end of 400 miles tomorrow at Homestead Miami Speedway. And also want to share some news from Austin, Texas at Circuit of the Americas. Williams F1 just announced that the American driver Logan Sargent, who we just talked about, is going to get 2 more free practice 1 sessions for Williams this season at the Mexican Grand Prix and then Abu Dhabi at the end of the season. And Sargent would also participate in the young drivers test. So it seems like Logan Sargent might be moving even closer to getting that Formula One race seat, because if it wasn't, Williams wouldn't be putting him in the seat this much.
I've just heard, because I'm hearing it as well, it's 1 super license point per 100 kilometers. So the more he does in terms of the time as well, the extra points he gets, this is going to help him in the F2 super license points, because that's the big thing. So Jos Capito seems good. It's going to happen. I've just heard it myself. So it's Albon alongside Sargent, if that's the case. So yes.
And that news broke right here on Grid Live Pre-Race, so definitely we're going to be following this, and of course more updates throughout the week, and especially with Grid Tonight with Joshua and Kobe. Back to the NASCAR action. One of the big things, Denny Hamlin, he's trying to get his 4th win here, and then he wants to get that win, focus on Phoenix. His team, though, 2311, they would just love to have a solid finish this weekend. Ty Gibbs, he is replacing Kurt Busch again, and John Hunter Nemechek is replacing Bubba Wallace, who is serving a 1-race suspension after what happened at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It seems like 2311 is coming to a rough end. With Bubba not scoring any points this weekend, he could drop a position in the driver's standings to 20th, which is currently right what Eric Almirola holds. Pretty good distance from 21st place, but still would love to score points. And overall, it just seems this team had some good high moments, but then some low moments. Of course, this is one of their lower moments. Kobe, starting with you, what would a good day look like for 2311 tomorrow? And is there any shot at a win by any of the 2 drivers?
Believe it or not, Joe, I think 2311 racing could shock a lot of people this weekend. If you saw practice and qualifying earlier today, John Hunter and Nemechek, Ty Gibbs they were really fast in practice, qualifying as well, starting up towards the front, and I was very surprised to see how well John Hunter and Nemechek got on in that car, considering the fact this is his first official session driving the new next gen car, while everybody else is obviously been there all season. Ty Gibbs has some races under his belt. So I think for 23-11, based on how the speed they have right now, I think they should shoot for possibly top 15, top 10 finish. I certainly think that will be doable for both of those drivers, considering everything that's happened with them this season. You all know about Kurt Busch suffering a concussion at Pocono, forcing him to retire from the team early. And then Bubba Wallace getting retaliation against Kyle Larson in such an erratic way last weekend. Certainly not a good look. And Denny Hamlin actually spoke about the Bubba Wallace incident to the media. Jordan Bianchi from The Athletic shared a quote from Denny Hamlin saying that obviously 23-11 didn't approve of the way that Bubba reacted there, and they supported NASCAR's decision. He said it was just not a good look for their team at all, and he believed if Bubba Wallace, had a chance to do it over again, he would have handled that differently, and brought up, the fact that he had the McDonald's sponsorship, and when you have Big M on your fire suit there, and you're doing something like that, which is extremely dangerous, it's not a good look for the entire team. And Denny also acknowledged the fact that Bubba's been making some real strides this season. He went from being a mid-pack driver, and in Denny's own words, to being like a top 10 driver during the second half of the season. He says it's such a shame because Bubba's grown so much as a driver. But people aren't, at the end of the day right now, people aren't going to talk about that. They're going to talk about that one incident, and that's how people are going to see Bubba Wallace for the foreseeable future until he's able to change the narrative.
And I can definitely agree with that point. I think we just saw the best year of Bubba Wallace's career besides his truck years, honestly. So his best year in Cup, right? Most wins, tied for the most wins, right? Top 5, top 10. And then this major setback we have here. But one thing we do know is that 2311 brings rocket ships to these intermediate 1.5 mile tracks. And that's why we just saw John Hunter Nemechek qualify 4th and Ty Gibbs qualify 6th. I think when it comes to, I think they're less worried about the driver's points and more worried about these owners' points, right? Because since the points reset, 2311 sitting in 11th right now in the number 45, when they are 10 points behind 10th place, but yet if they have a bad day, they can easily fall all the way back to 15th, which is where the 18 is currently. So I think for them, just like Kobe said, top 15 really with these two drivers. John Hunter Nemechek didn't have much success in the Cup Series, but then he was the second car for Front Row Motorsports, now putting him in arguably the first car for 2311 Racing. I think we could see a great day for him, especially John Hunter Nemechek's got to have a lot of confidence. Obviously, he did say that this isn't his main focus. His main focus is to go make the Final Four in the Truck Championship, which apparently I didn't know that they got rid of Martinsville. Clearly, I've not been paying attention. I was excited. I'm like, can't wait for Martinsville next week for the Truck Series. But nope, they get another random week off like they usually do. Nonetheless, but I think John Hunter Nemechek could definitely finish in the top 15. I think Ty Gibbs has shown he could finish in the top 15. It's just all about survival, right? At the end of the day, for these two cars, the Toyotas, sometimes when they show up in qualifying, the race goes the complete opposite, and then vice versa. Sometimes you're like, where is Denny Hamlin? And then all of a sudden, Denny Hamlin's in second place. But I think it's just a big owners' championship, as they got to stick in. They got to get as much points as they possibly can, run up in the stage, take those risks to get those points, or else they're going to be losing a lot of money. Like, you lose points. You lose a lot of money per position. And we've seen someone like Tyler Reddick, I just want to point out, who got eliminated in the first round, I believe was the 12 or 13, has made his way up to 10th in owners' points and is currently catching Suarez, and will probably, when it resets again, be way higher in owners' points. So I think for 2311, the best thing is just race clean. Take some risks, though, when it comes to getting points, and I'm sure they'll be fine. You just got to hope that they both finish the race, though. It makes them look better as an organization, especially what has happened over the past week.
Race clean, log all the laps. Top 10 finishes will be great, but I think the big thing, as you said, having clean races, the sponsorship they bring, of course, McDonald's last weekend, Columbia Sports Gear, which traditionally hasn't been in NASCAR until Bubba Wallace came in, Moneyline. A lot of these big sponsors, they want to see results on the track. If the two drivers today could bring results, I think that could be really positive for 2311. And of course, one of the drivers for next year, Tyler Reddick. It's really interesting. As I mentioned, only 6 drivers who are racing have won here. But Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick, those are 2 drivers that always run strong here to just not have that W yet here at Homestead, Miami. Now, both of them, of course, are out of the playoffs. Tyler Reddick, he won at Texas. We are still stuck at 19 different winners. I remember after Chris Buescher won, we were all convinced we were going to hit 20. We haven't hit 20 still. Matthew, do you anticipate a playoff? A non-playoff driver? Because the one of them that has one here has to be Reddick or now Larson, or a driver that has yet to win this year, like a Martin Truex, still looking for his first win of the year. What kind of driver do you think we're going to see pull into victory lane?
Personally, I think it's going to be someone who has already won this season, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Martin Truex, who has the second best average finish here in the past 3 races, can get it done. I believe his average finish is like 5.7. Hasn't won though, but he has 2 top 5s here. But I think personally, there is another driver I will point out who I can think have a very phenomenal race who has not won in the Cup Series, and that is Noah Gragson driving the 48. I think Noah Gragson's honestly is going to dominate today in the Xfinity Series. I don't see how anyone can beat him at this track unless David Starr is on the track and then slows down. I remember that watching where Noah Gragson just went rear-ended him. I believe that was Miami, right after Gragson was like 9 seconds ahead of the entire field. Rear-ended, DNF'd. Yeah, but I think Noah Gragson in a Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet can definitely get it done today or tomorrow. I really think that could be a possibility. But there is no doubt in my mind that it is going to be somebody who has won already, and I really feel like it's going to be Tyler Reddick, just because he's just. It's like was it Marty Snyder said today in qualifying, asked Tyler Reddick about, do you think this track was just made for you, or is this something you learned? And he was like, I can't answer that because I don't know. So yeah, I think this track is Tyler Reddick's best friend. Despite him winning at 3 different tracks this season, I think Tyler Reddick could end up, I believe it would be tying for the most wins this season in the Cup Series. I think he could get his 4th win tomorrow.
Yeah, Matthew, I really think we're going to see a repeat winner. And it's really funny, come to a place like Homestead, it seems to be a track that favors all the drivers with experience on dirt, like your Tyler Reddick, who started off on dirt, Kyle Larson, Christopher Bell, Chase Briscoe. I think this is going to be a track for drivers like that. And then you see drivers who didn't grow up racing dirt do well too, like Denny Hamlin, William Byron, that we've already talked about. But if I had to make a prediction, I think we're going to see a playoff driver get the job done this weekend at Homestead, Miami Speedway. I believe we have a comment in the chat room from our own Adam Limmery saying if Logan Sargent gets enough super license points, he'll be able to compete for Williams in the 2023 Formula One season. Really glad you brought that up, Adam, because it was just announced at the press conference at Circuit of the Americas that Logan Sargent will indeed be a 2023 Formula One driver from America if he's able to secure enough super license points after Abu Dhabi, and he would become the first American to compete in an F1 race since I believe Alexander Rossi did when he stood in for the Maynard team. And I actually don't remember the last time we had a full-time American race on the grid in Formula One. Probably had to bring in Joshua Birch to answer this one. I believe it might have been Scott Speed, but don't quote me on that one.
I'm really excited to see the news going on in Austin, Texas. Of course, Joshua following the news right now. If any big breaking news, he will rejoin us in the program. Now, one of the big things when it comes to this race, it's going to be really interesting. I have to agree, I think, with Matthew. I think we're going to see a driver that has already won this year get the race win at not Phoenix, Homestead, Miami. Already thinking a week ahead, a couple weeks ahead, actually. But overall, Miami is really interesting. We don't think of it as a track where only select few, the best of the best win. But just to see that stat, because when you look at the other drivers that have retired, no longer racing, Kurt Busch being one of those drivers, of course, only 6 past winners here, and only 2 of them, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch, with multiple wins here. Speaking about multiple wins, a World Rally Championship update. We have the Rally Spain going on, and Sebastian Ogier has been pretty much leading this race from the start on Friday, the first 8 stages, to now the conclusion, the 15th stage. Still ahead of Kali Rofenpera in second place, Thierry Neuville, Antonic, and Danny Sordo in 5th. Of course, Danny, this is his home country's rally. They're going to have more stages tomorrow. They're going to complete with stage 16, 17, 18, 19, and the power stage. So overall, it's going to be a very exciting conclusion to the World Rally Championship. Now, one of the big things there, championship is already concluded. Colorado Prayer wrapped that up. One championship still wide open. Our pick a winner standings. It is getting close, and it's time for that moment. Kobe, pick a winner.
Yeah, time for pick a winner. Got 3 races for well actually 4, but we already did the World Rally Championship. Pick a winner on Wednesday's grid tonight. So and you look at the leaderboard there, it's getting really tight between me, Joe, Alex Fleener, and Adam Limmery's trying to break up some ground, and then everybody else been below. And we're gonna start off with MotoGP, the Malaysian Grand Prix at the Sepang circuit that I really enjoy. Matthew, who do you think's gonna get it done in Malaysia?
I want to say the same exact thing as Josh. In terms if it's dry, it's going to be Martin. If it's wet, it's going to be Marquez. But I'm going to just go with Marquez because he gave me hope when he finished second when I picked him last weekend. So let's hope it rains for Marquez.
It's going to rain. I'm going to go with the rider that has won the rain already this year. Miguel Oliveira, he's going to come to the front. He's going to get the win. And the championship is going to continue on to Valencia.
Yeah, Miguel Oliveira is quite the rainmaster in MotoGP, but I'm gonna go with a different rider. I think Enea Bastianini is gonna get the job done in Malaysia. And next we're gonna do Formula One. Matthew, who you think's gonna get the U.S. Grand Prix victory?
Oh, for Formula One, it's a tough one, but I'm going to stick with Marseille. I'm going to go with the best driver, arguably in the past decade at the Circuit of Americas. I'm going to go Sir Lewis Hamilton will finally get his first win and probably the only win that he has, only chance he has for the rest of the season for getting a win, I believe, will be here tomorrow.
I'm going with Max Verstappen. I think he's going to cruise to victory and help Red Bull potentially clinch the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, I'm going with Max Verstappen and the Red Bull to get the job done as well. And last but not least, NASCAR Cup Series, Dixie Vodka 400 at Homestead Miami Speedway. Matthew, who you have?
I wanted to say either Christopher Bell or someone like that, but I'm going to say Tyler Reddick because you have to, right, at this track. I think he gets his first Cup win here tomorrow.
I'm going with Denny Hamlin. He's going to get it done and punch his ticket to Phoenix.
And I'm gonna go with the other driver we talked about alongside him. I think William Byron, starting from the pole, he's gonna get the job done. Punch his ticket, and to see Adam Limmery saying his pick a winner, he's going with Marc Marquez, and then a surprise pick there, John Hunter Nemechek, upsetting everybody in at number 45, getting the win tomorrow potentially, and then Max Verstappen in Austin, Texas. And Josh, I believe you have something to say regarding Formula One.
Yeah, Zach Brown right now is just talking because a question was asked by Phil Duncan to Christian Horner about what was your reaction about Zach Brown writing this letter, and Christian Horner went into a complete and utter rampage sort of saying like, I find it very disgusting, saying that we've been put on public trial, and as well I find it disgusting that fellow competitors are talking to us like this and treating us like this as well, and it's just been a massive argument as well, as I'm just waiting to see if there's going to be another question coming up. Yeah, they're all towards Christian Horner. Josh Capito's sitting there, it sounds like it's nothing. Andrew Benson's on now as well. And what's happening is at the moment, so Christian Horner's come in this press conference and has said that we are now in a voluntary process with the FIA. We're going through that process with them, and we hope to conclude in the near future. They've been invited to enter this with the FIA, so there's no deal. It's to invite them to explain, because the cost cap is Red Bull say that we are inside the cost cap, but you are saying we are not. The FIA said that they're not because they're counting in as well the expenditure costs as well. So what is critical costs and what is the extra costs of the World Championship? The FIA have taken the extra costs alongside their budget cap when they're not supposed to. So it looks to be just a procedural error that Red Bull are trying to fix. Christian's getting very, very angry. He just said now in my ears, I hoped it was to be resolved by this weekend, and he's hoping it would be resolved this weekend. But should that happen, the next process, it would go to the cost cap administration panel, and beyond that, the International Court of Appeal. So it could draw out for another 6-9 months, he's just told me. That is literally live repeat in my ears. He wants closure on it. Red Bull want closure on 2021 and now 2022. Zach Brown did reply to that criticism that Christian said, and said, look, it's up to the FIA to hold everyone by the rules and hold everybody up to the standards that everyone else has. But it's honestly going up so much in the press conference right now. Christian is getting more and more angry. He's sat in the chair right now, and he's got such a frowny face on as well. Zach Brown's loving this. He's sat there looking quite cool and calm. And Jos Capito's looking like a snowman in summertime, just like he doesn't need to be there. But at least he announced Logan Sargent next year if he gets the points at the end of the year. So that's what's happening in the press conference. Everyone's just going around in circles, getting their version of what the press conference is as well about what's going to happen with the cost cap. Everyone's getting their own questions in. Our word is that Christian Horner says it should be resolved soon. If it's not, it's going to be a long time to resolve it, possibly into next year. And it's only the beginning, I feel, about this cost cap.
And hopefully this is not something that becomes an annual thing when it comes to the cost cap. There's auditors out there that could easily look over the books and then I think handle this situation with the teams, the FIA. To say we're negotiating with the FIA over this potential, well, you took in the expenditures when originally you weren't. This got to be cleared up, and this is just becoming. Do you believe this could be something, Joshua, where maybe the teams are just trying to egg on Red Bull just to get them distracted because they're so dominant this year, and here we are, 19 points away from claiming a constructor championship. Christian would love to do that, but if he's losing his focus because everyone's picking on him for this budget cap mess, could that be part of the mind games?
I think you're definitely right because he's now complaining in the press conference right now about the cost cap going down from 175 million to 135 million, as you said earlier on, Joe, in the show as well, because it's about 75,000 line products or something or that they've added into the mix now in the cost cap. It's getting all confusing out there at the moment. As just waiting to see if that's the end. No, Rebecca Clancy's going on now as well. Zach Brown and Jos Capito now, so thank God that they're finished. Turn that down for a second then. So, yeah, it looks to be that this is going to go on and forward. It looks like the teams want a definite answer on this as well, because if Red Bull get away with this and continue to, then they sort of want answers. Okay, so if this is the fine that Red Bull get for going under the minimum budget, we'll do that. We'll happily pay whatever penalty, because it's rumored to be about $25,000 as well. We'll happily pay that if it means we can spend an extra $5 million to develop the car. So it's kind of like, what punishment do you put in to stop them doing it? Zach Brown's just saying as well that they're right on the budget cap now. They're right on the limit. Okay, so Zach Brown's now just saying that for this year, they were already right on the limit of the budget cap, so they can't go over. So that's boring to see what McLaren can do in the last 3 races. They're in a battle with Alpine in the Constructors' Championship. So this is the thing. The teams need to know exactly what is allowed and what isn't, because if Red Bull get away with this, everyone's going to do it in the budget cap, and it may as well go back up to being 175 million for what it's worth pre-COVID, because it's not working, and I think the FIA, the longer they leave this, the longer they look like fools.
And like you said, you spend $5 million more than the cap. So here's your $25,000 fine. That just don't make sense.
It's Williams did it. Jos Capito is sitting there, and he got fined earlier on this year for doing exactly the same thing, being over the budget cap. I think he got a $25,000 fine. So it's madness. This is all madness. Christian's just been asked what happens if this takes another 5-6 months. Christian's starting, so I'll give you a second. He says, I think it's in the interest of everybody, in the interest of the sport, in the interest of Formula One, to get this situation resolved as quickly as possible. He said, I think there's many lessons that can be learned from it. That's what he said in response to how long this budget cap should go on for. Zach's agreed, and so is Jos Capito. So they all want it resolved as quickly as possible. Jos Capito said there should be an additional regulation of the rule that allows this to be allows them to be told if they've breached the cost cap within 2 days. That's a very good one. Okay, well, this is a half-hour press conference at the moment. So, Christian's just been asked what is the proposed penalty as well. So we don't actually know what the penalty is, what the FIA have offered them. So I'll hopefully see if we can get this on as well in a few seconds. Ben Hunt's asking this question from The Sun as well, UK newspaper. Ben Hunt as well was famous for Drive to Survive for asking that question to Toto Wolff, of course, and Toto sort of going, come on, that's a stupid question, what's going on, as everybody then jumped on him on Twitter actually as well. So I really hope we get to find out what the penalty is here. Here we go. Christian's going to start it. So what is the penalty? Oh, he says, sorry, what is the first part of the question? What is the penalty? He can't tell us. It's confidential discussion between ourselves and the FIA. So we can't know. Oh, what he will say is, once hopefully this situation is concluded, there will be complete transparency. And Christian's going to talk us through exactly what's happened. The reasoning behind Red Bull's submission and the position that they had going in and why they felt they were inside the cost cap. Yeah, all the line items that have been challenged, 75,000 of them have been challenged, we understand. They say that there's a contrary position, and so Christian's going to walk us through it, so it should be transparent. Okay, so Christian's being quite honest there, saying it's going to be transparent. There's going to be no private things like Ferrari in 2019, so it looks like we will know sooner or later, once it's become released, that Christian's, to me, this looks like they haven't done that much, and they just want to get this sorted out. So that's good. That's all I've got for the press conference.
And of course, we want to thank Joshua for all the coverage at the press conference going on. And of course, we want to encourage everyone to visit our Patreon. We'll definitely love to have it to where you could all help cover our costs here, help us stay on the air, and more travel costs as we hope to expand more and more 2023, going to the track, covering the races. And of course, if you want to do a one-time contribution, buy me a coffee, buy a cup of coffee or the favorite drink for your favorite on-air personality, or make it to the Grid Network directly. And of course, you can follow us on Instagram, TikTok. We live stream on Twitch, Twitter, right here on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So definitely check our LinkedIn page for our live coverage and potential opportunities to be part of the Grid Network team. And of course, for investing in the stock market, public.com, use the referral code GRIDnet, download the app, enter that referral code, you get to start off with some free stocks. So that way you're not even using your money when you first start. Learn about using the stock market to generate some growth in your portfolio. They got podcasts. You find your current friends in the stock market, make new friends, and you use all the resources on public.com. And once again, a big thank you to Joshua Birch, Matthew Bro, and Kobe Lance for the podium finish for being on the air today. I'm Joe Samaniego. Thank you for watching the show and enjoy the races. Don't be an anonymous investor. Join the stock market social media platform, public.com. Invest any amount of money and share with friends and new friends. Discover new opportunities, such as new companies and potential business partners, and useful tools for beginners, and share your experience with friends on public.com. Link in the video description gets you $5 for being a Grid Network viewer. Use the referral code GRIDnet for your free $5 to invest. Start investing and networking on public.com.